Let's hear from the opposition now. Joining me now from the House of Commons foyer is the NDP immigration critic Don Davies and the Liberal immigration critic Kevin Lamoureux. Both of you heard this interview I just did with Jason Kenney. Let's get at it. The first thing. The first thing that he said is he's changing the need to have a panel of experts, human rights experts, to determine what country is a safe country of origin. Now it will be in the hands of the minister. He said that the government did simulations and said a panel would be too slow. Don Davies, what do you make of why he changed that and his rationale for doing so?
Well, I think Minister Kenney is doing what you see a lot of cabinet ministers do in the Harper government, which is they want to concentrate power in their own hands. They don't like listening to civil society or outside experts or other parliamentarians, and I think it's really a dangerous development. You know, the previous bill, which Minister Kenney applauded, as you pointed out, simply required that there be two arm's-length independent experts in human rights who would have to be consulted before he decided which country may be a so-called designated safe country. That's all it required him to do. What's he afraid of? Why would he not want to have the benefit of that advice to him?
What do you make of those? I asked him that, and he said his department ran simulations. I tried to press him for some details there. Not a lot of details, but what do you make of that?
He was skating faster than Henrik Sedin, in a Canucks game. He wouldn't answer. What kind of simulations would he run? Would he bring in a couple of fake experts to give their fake opinion on a fake country? That's ridiculous. And he also said that this would be an unwieldy process. If the minister thinks that there's a safe country, then he sends that country to these experts. They give him the benefit of their expertise. He compares that to some data like how many refugee claims are coming from that country, what's their record on human rights, and then he can make an informed designation. That can be done efficiently and fairly, but the minister's afraid of having his decision subjected to the scrutiny of someone else. And there's no acceptable reason that I heard for that, and I think it's wrong.
Kevin Lamoureux, let's get that topic. What do you make of the rationale for the minister saying it just takes too much time to do it and they need to make these decisions faster? They ran some simulations, and now the minister will make those decisions.
I think it's incredible that the minister has taken that sort of an approach, Evan. The reality of the situation is, quite frankly, 2 years ago, all political parties said, here's the type of legislation we all got behind it. The legislation itself still hasn't been enacted. It doesn't become law until later in June. Having said that, then what he does is he makes some changes where he says that as a Minister of Immigration, he knows better than an advisory committee, that he can actually decide which country is safe, which country is not safe. And if you happen to be listed as a safe country, keep in mind, that means you are not going to be able to go through a normal appeal. If you come here, a decision is made, 2 weeks later, you're gone, and you can go through a federal court. A year later, a decision would be made in a federal court on process. You're long gone by then.
Now, he did say he would consult with NGOs before making any decisions on which country should be safe, and he did cite some criteria, raising the question, is that enough?
No, it's not. This is a minister in which we had an agreement. He betrayed that agreement by bringing in this bill. He also brought in the human smuggling bill to sneak that in as a part of this particular bill, Evan, which is something that should also be noted. I don't think he's a minister that can actually be trusted on this particular file.
And another thing, Evan, on this is if the minister says that he is going to consult people, well, then why would he get rid of the formal mechanism for that very consultation? And I'll tell you something else. I think Canadians have seen enough of Jason Kenney and this government to have great misgivings about their ability to make fair and objective determinations about countries. This is a government that politicizes the giving of aid. Kairos is an example where if they're engaged in some sort of political activity that this government doesn't like, they cut off aid. I don't think that you're going to see fair and objective determinations, and that's what the minister's afraid of.
Before I get to this biometrics, because I want your view on that, let's get specific. Countries like Hungary, where a lot of the claimants are Roma. I asked the minister about that. He said he called those bogus claimants. 90 to 95% of them don't even follow up on them. He said, I asked him if he was targeting the Roma. He said by the criteria, the existing criteria, it doesn't, it is a safe country of origin. Do you believe he's targeting the Roma of Hungary?
Yes, I do. And You know, I got to say this. I am tired of hearing the Minister of Immigration refer to people as bogus refugees. You know, there are a lot of claimants that come to this country and they have claims of persecution. It may turn out that they don't fit the actual criteria for persecution. That doesn't make them bogus. And I think the minister should stop using such inflammatory language which insinuates that people are somehow crooked or corrupt or dishonest in some way, as opposed to people fleeing persecution that have every right to make a claim. It's like saying to two Canadians who go to court after the decision, saying to the one who lost that he was a bogus claimant. Well, no. I mean, the position may not have prevailed. It doesn't mean they didn't have a bona fide case to be made. And I think it's very unhelpful for this minister to use that inflammatory language. With respect to the Roma were rounded up during World War II along with Jews and homosexuals and other groups. There's a long history of documented persecution of Roma in Europe. And for the minister to be stereotyping a large group and branding them as somehow illegitimate is wrong. The essence of a refugee system is that each person has a right to have their case determined individually. And that should happen, and without stereotyping. Now, I just want to say quickly, all Canadians agree that we need a system that is fast and fair. We want to make sure that people who don't have legitimate claims are determined quickly and deported if necessary. Bill C11 had those fair processes, those fast processes, and the minister didn't even wait, as Kevin pointed out, to even implement that bill to give it a chance to work, and it would have fixed those problems the minister is talking about.
I got less than a minute here, Kevin Lambert. Let me get to this biometrics. The minister just said they will be collecting biometric data on some refugees, not sure which. He also said they'll be keeping that information, but not forever. I asked for details for how long will the RCMP keep it. He said he didn't know the answer to that, but there will be guidelines. What do you make of the collection of biometric data and fingerprints?
First of all, I have some news for the minister. The RCMP, and actually we already do collect some biomedical information. But the answer to your question, Evan, is that I think that as we continue to evolve, you're likely going to see the biometric technology being used for visiting visas, working visas, all forms of different types of visas that are out there, including refugees. I think that there's priority implement areas, and the refugees is one of them. The idea behind that is to prevent individuals that have been deemed not to have been a refugee, that leave the country, but then try to come back in. And I think that's the reason why it's been given. I think we have to be very cautious, because what we're talking about right now is just fingerprints and live pictures. I don't think there's a need to go anything further than that, but that is what's being talked about today in Immigration and Citizenship Committee. That's what was talked about on Tuesday also. So it's something that's going to be talkable. It's going to be debated over the next, I'm sure, number of months.
All right, I got to leave it there. Don Davies and Kevin Lambert, they're giving their reaction to Jason Kenney and the new bill. We'll find out